Welcome back to our viewers at CEO.CA. My name is Amrit Gill, and we're at PDAC in Toronto. I'm now joined by Paul Sorbara, CEO, Director, and President of Golden Goliath Resources. Welcome. How are you finding the convention so far?
Hi, Amrit. Thank you. It's so much bigger than it used to be, and I'm glad it's back together after the COVID shutdown. But it's more and more modern every year, and I've been coming for the last 25 years, so I've seen a lot of changes from everything at the Royal York to everything in downtown Toronto. So it's been good so far.
Well, lots of information, insights, and stories to get to. So let's start with the history of Golden Goliath and the vision for the company.
Well, Golden Goliath has been around for a long time. We went public in 2000 but on a package of properties that we had in Mexico. And I worked for 5 or 6 years privately as a private exploration company in Mexico, putting that package together. And it covered an entire old Mexican mining camp in the Sierra Madres around the town of Uruachi. And we ended up with 8 properties, and we started to explore those 8 properties privately and then went public. Then we invited Fresnillo to come and look at those properties. They liked the properties. They staked everything around us, and then they found their own world-class deposit adjacent to one of my properties. So then they wanted to buy all of my properties, and I had to keep one, so I kept one, sold them 7, and then came to Canada only about 4 or 5 years ago to start working in Canada, where it was easier to raise flow-through money, and it wasn't such a burden to raise hard dollars for a foreign country.
Could you delve into your personal experience a little bit more and what experience your team brings to the company?
Well, I've been in the business full-time since 1980, so there's a lot of experience on my part, and I can feel it. I've been an exploration geologist for a big company. I've been a private consultant. I've been a private explorer, and I've been a CEO of a junior company for the last 22 years. And the other people that I work with, our CFO, I've worked with for more than 20 years. My executive assistant, I've worked with her for 28 years. So we have a very experienced team. One of my cousins, Edward Sorbara, who's in the real estate business here in Toronto, he's on the board and he helps us with financial advice. And, he's in the big leagues, we're in the small leagues. And we also have a Mexican director who very familiar with everything that's going on in Mexico. So lots of experience and lots of different things. I've worked from the Arctic Ocean to Patagonia, from Haida Gwaii to Newfoundland. And so I've seen a lot.
Yeah, sounds like a wealth of experience. Could you provide our viewers with an overview of your company holdings?
Well, right now we have 2 gold properties in Ontario that we're exploring. One's called Gwaii. It's near Red Lake. The other one is called Wishior. It's just north of Sault Ste. Marie. And just recently we acquired a new property in Quebec called Ernest. We still have 1 property in Mexico because we sold, as I mentioned, 7 to Fresnillo. We had to keep 1 because I needed 1 property. And so now I'm looking probably to sell that property. It comes with royalties, NSR royalties on the 7 other properties around it that Fresnillo now holds. So we have lots of things on the go, and we're quite excited about what we're going to find out this year. And I'm intrigued to get out onto this new property that we've just acquired.
Yeah, why are you intrigued?
I'm intrigued because we haven't been into the rare earth elements before. They're very interesting. We have some geologists on staff that have a lot of experience in that, a lot of experience in Quebec. I'm intrigued because geology is very unusual. It's right on the edge of the Manicouagan impact crater in eastern Quebec. And who knows what you're going to find around an impact crater. I mean, Sudbury is an impact crater, and it's done pretty good. Not much work has gone on around the Manicouagan impact crater, but we're going to get out there and see what's new this year.
Yeah, well, Paul, it sounds like you have lots on the go. What can investors expect this year?
This year, investors can expect us to start working as soon as possible in Quebec on the Ernst property. And then we're going to try to get back onto Wishior and also Gwaii. Gwaii was quiet for a long time because there were problems with the governments getting permits. And now I just actually spoke this morning to those people, and the permits are coming back on. So we're going to continue to explore. Our property there is just south of the Great Bear property that was taken over by Kinross. And we've done some drilling there, but we have more to do. And the property between us and Kinross was BTU Resources, and now they've done a deal with Kinross. So I'm hoping we're next.
Having run a junior, what advice would you give to your younger self?
For my younger self, when I started in Mexico, we tried to explore as a junior company 8 big properties covering a whole junior mining camp. And that's a lot to chew off, especially if you have to raise hard dollars to work in a foreign country. And so in my younger self, I would say I should have joint ventured more of those properties instead of trying to work a little bit here and a little bit there and not getting as far advanced as I was. I'm an entrepreneurial kind of guy. I wanted to do it all myself, but you really should do more joint ventures and option agreements.
Yeah. What measures can companies take to reduce their burn rates?
Well, I'm an expert on that because I ran a private company in Mexico for 7 or 8 years, and just low. My office is very small. Corporate burn rate's only about 30 grand a month. You don't have corporate cars. You don't travel business class. You just keep all of the expenses really low. And, it's when you start to get public money, you tend to overspend that. But in Mexico, and I was working with my own money, then you learn how to be cheap, basically. And that's what you have to do. And if you go into a junior company's office and it's all fancy and they got, all kinds of great stuff, that's the public's money that's going there. And I'm very proud that Golden Goliath, 75% of the money that we've ever spent has gone directly into exploration. And that's what you should look for when you're looking to invest in a company. Look for one that's putting their money in the ground and they have experienced people directing that exploration work.
Green flags. We like green flags.
And greenbacks.
With any closing remarks, anything you'd like to share with our CEO.CA community?
I have great hope in Golden Goliath for this year. I'm very excited about what we're going to be finding, and let's hope the world doesn't blow up in the meantime. That's all we can do.
Well, fingers crossed. Thank you so much for joining us, Paul. Take care.
Thank you very much, Amrina. Pleasure.